is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
Although China is no latecomer to the African continent, growing exchanges between the two peoples is a new phenomenon. Now, 2 decades ago, the idea of a Chinese and African marriage was inconceivable. Today, that trend is changing. So how do the cultural differences feature in their relationship? Or are these differences over-exaggerated? Today, we'll be speaking to 2 Chinese-African couples who will demystify for us what happens when Chinese meet Africans. I'm Beatrice Marshall. Welcome to this special edition of Talk Africa. So before we begin our discussion, let's first start by getting to know our China and Africa couples here. With me is Henry and Shu Qing. Shu Qing works at the Confucius Institute. She's a teacher at the Chinese Confucius Institute. Henry is also working here in Nairobi. They've been together for over 10 years. They are celebrating their 10th year anniversary, and they have a son and a daughter. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Let me also introduce Yasin and Ruth. They also live here in Nairobi. They have a daughter. They have been together now for 6 years. They first met at the Shanghai 2010 Expo, but it was not until 2 years ago, if I understand it, that they got to know each other. Welcome to the program. Let me start off with you, Henry. You know, having lived here with Shu Qing now for a while in Nairobi, but you stayed in China for quite a while before you came to Kenya. What was your experience in China? What were your expectations? Did it meet your expectations?
Well, I can say that when I arrived in China in 1998, my first experience was to feel illiterate for the first time in my life. Because when I arrived, we were going there with a number of students who had gotten scholarships. And so when I arrived there, I could not speak Chinese. I could not read Chinese. I could not write Chinese. And I could not communicate completely. So my first experience was like, how will I survive here? Because I could not speak the language. I remember when I went to the restaurant and to have a meal, and I was given a menu in Chinese, and everything was in Chinese. So I looked at it. I didn't know what to look for, because there were no pictorials. If there were pictures, I would have looked at something familiar. But everything was just in characters. So I just sat there until I walked out of the room, because the restaurant, because there was nothing I could order.
But now you speak perfect Mandarin.
Yes, after some time, yes, I started learning the language, and eventually I started knowing a few things. And of course, with a lot of difficulties, because the first time when I went to the classroom, I sat there. The teacher was teaching Chinese, and I was just looking at her and wondering what she was saying. I was not getting even a single word. And after 45 minutes, I saw people stood up. The teacher also went out, so I thought maybe we were going to another room. I followed them, and they ended up in their rooms. So I came back and sat there. So it was just because in China, after every 45 minutes, you have a short break. But here in Kenya, when you start your class in the morning for 3 hours, and then you have a break. So it was a bit of a difference for us.
Let's hear Shu Qing's involvement here. What's been your experience now that you're living here in Kenya?
Okay, so we married in 2006. Then the same year, he just came back to Kenya. And I came to Kenya in 2009. So, and I came here to work in the Confucius Institute in the University of Nairobi. The first time they gave me the class, and it was an evening class from 5 to 7. So I always follow the time, and I came on time to my teaching. So I arrived in the classroom, nobody there. So I was wondering, where are they? So later, one student came in, so I asked him.
So he was on Kenyan time?
Yeah, so where are the others? So I say, can you message them or can you call them and let them come to the class, we can start to teach. Then he said, yeah, they are coming. Don't worry, teacher, don't worry, relax, they are coming. So I wait, still not yet. No, not all the students appear in the classroom. So I say, can you call them again, please? It's really late. Then later, some they came in, later by time they came in. So now, later you see, for us we realized this kind of maybe time culture for Kenya. So we need to try to just it, yeah.
All right. Yasin and Ruth, your story.
Right.
Yeah.
When we met the first time, we met in Shanghai, and the first time we just talked, we got to know each other. And then after that, I left. We didn't have any contacts, so it was kind of a perfect stranger kind of a situation. And then a month later in Beijing, we went back to Beijing, and there was this show about foreigners going to China to study. It was the 60th anniversary. So we met again. I thought he looked very familiar, but I thought I couldn't trace where I'd met him before. So we just started talking. We just clicked and started talking again. And we started talking about the expo and everything. He said he had met a girl from Kenya in Shanghai and all. So I got curious and asked him where he was staying. I was that bold, huh? Yeah. And he said the name of that place we were staying. And I was like, no wonder you look familiar. So the first thing, of course, was to exchange contacts, or else it will be very regrettable.
So from that time, the next year, the volunteer that 情人节.
During Valentine's.
Valentine's, I sent her the message. I say happy Valentine's
Day.
Then he replied.
I replied and said, Jackie, thank you. In my heart, you're my Valentine. And he said, why didn't you tell me? I like you too. So usually people confuse who told who they like who first. You know.
And that is the question that people are asking, because 5 years ago, or even 10 years ago, I mean, interracial marriages between China and Africa was not heard of. So we want to find out, though, Henry and Shu-Ching, from your parents, you know, and your family and your friends, what did they say when they heard you were getting married or that you were together?
I didn't tell my family immediately. I was a bit afraid. Because in Changchun, that city now, especially those years, not many foreign students, and the students from Africa, not many people knew them. So I just wait. After almost 2 years, I called my father. I want to arrange a time to let them meet. So I called my father by phone. I say, Baba, I met a Kenya guy, and he said he liked me. Then my father suddenly said, no, you must tell him no. I was scared and I was so sad, and I just keep it like a secret for some times again. So I try to adjust myself. Then I arranged a time to invite my father came to Changchun, and we met in a restaurant. And that time his Chinese improved a lot. So my father, of course, he doesn't speak English, but they talk by English, and my father feels so comfortable, and they communicate so well. So after that, everything is okay.
Everything's okay. What about your family back in Kenya? What do they think about your Chinese wife?
I think one of the things that you find, especially Kenyans, are more accommodative, because Kenya is the origin of mankind. So we feel that any other person out there actually started from Kenya. So my relatives, because I lost my parents a bit early, so they were very accommodated. They didn't have any problem. In fact, they were saying, when are you bringing her? We want to see her. And then after some time, my auntie and my brother came to China, and they were happy. Especially when they met with my in-laws, they were very happy. Mm-hmm. So when I met her father, of course, I was very nervous, and we had identified a place where
as a future son-in-law, you have to be nervous.
Yes, so I didn't know what he was going to say, because we had never met. So when we went for lunch and we talked, I was trying to talk, and I didn't know what he was going to say. After he finished eating lunch, he really enjoyed the lunch. He didn't say anything. He just said he was going. So he said bye, and then I went. But it was later on when she told me that he was very happy.
Okay.
So we were happy to receive her, because, as I said, we Kenyans are more receptive of other societies.
What about your situation?
So I think for a situation, my mom, luckily, when we met and when we got together, she came to China and they got to meet. And I think he gave my mom a very good impression because the first thing he did was at the airport, give her flowers and even called her mom. My mom was scared of calling her, huh, what's happening? Yeah, so then he had prepared a very good itinerary for her, and he took her around China actually to places that my mom even talks about until this day. So, but in China at that time, my mom was like, well, we'll see. Time will tell. I have no problem with him, but time will tell. Yeah, so I think she accepted it, and she had also been warned by her friends. You see your daughter is in China, you bring back a Chinese son-in-law. So yeah.
You have children. What do they speak? What do they eat? I mean, Chinese, African food. What do you eat? What do you eat? What do you speak at home?
Yeah, we have 2 children, a son and a daughter. The son is 7 years and is now in China learning Chinese, staying with my mother-in-law, and then the daughter is staying with us here. In our family, we speak Chinese, and we deliberately decided that we speak Chinese because we wanted to give them a good background in the language Chinese. So when you come to our home, the language we speak, their first language is Chinese. So later on, they learn English as they go to school, and also Kiswahili. When it comes to food, I think she can tell us what, because I gave her that
department. What do you
yes.
eat?
Okay, so in fact, this year so many friends came from China to visit us, and I always took them to the Kenya restaurant. They eat nyama choma, and they really like it. Because nyama choma in Chinese we say it's 烤肉. Yeah, in China we also have this kind of food, almost same, but the cooking way, the style is a bit different. And when you eat nyama choma, you also eat with chumbari. Kachumbari. Yes. So the kachumbari, you cut the small tomato, onion.
Yeah.
Small those
a little pepper sometimes.
Pepper, they mix there. Yeah, this way it's good because it's some chili inside. And Chinese people they really like chili food, spicy food. Yeah, so I think this is a bit same. And even the Kenya have the Kenya spinach, and China we also have Chinese spinach. And but the cooking way a bit different. Kenya spinach you cook and you also add some milk. Yeah, so it's so healthy, and we like it and soft. Yeah, so I think that a bit same. Yeah. So others food, I think the ugali is also nice. Sometimes we also introduce it to our Chinese friend, because you know Chinese people nowadays they also go back to our some days back because they see the maize. It's really is a healthy thing, yeah, for your body. So now our people, even our old parents, that generation, they like to eat maize food. Yeah, so in fact, Kenya food is very healthy.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're going to stay here for a moment and take a short break. And when we return, we will continue our discussion with the African and Chinese couples, Henry and Shu Ching, and Yasin and Ruth, to stay with us. Welcome back to the program. Now we continue our conversation on our diverse cultures. I want to find out from you, as a group, though, what sort of similarities do you find in the two cultures, in the African and in the Chinese culture, whether it comes to the way you relate to your family, your parents, your values? What similarities do you find? Start with Ruth.
Yeah, I think for us, the thought of family, having family close by, you know, your nuclear family, the mom, the dad, and the kids, is almost similar to China because it's very important for this nuclear family to be very peaceful and be very balanced, you know. So that is one thing that I've found. They instill of values towards on their kids and towards the society. It all starts from the family, and it's the same. Africa and China is all the same. That I think we have in common. Yeah.
Chuqing?
I think Kenya, the family relationship almost same like Chinese relationship. You see, in China we have the Chinese Spring Festival, and it's very important for Chinese people to celebrate it. And in Kenya, you celebrated Christmas. So, and your people must prepare yourself nicely and so many different food nicely and gather together and guo, shou, yeah, you celebrate it together. And in China, the Chinese Spring Festival, every family member must go back to your hometown, your home, gather together, buy the gift, and enjoy the food together. Especially Chinese special food is dumpling, and it was so delicious. Yeah, so this I think is the same, almost same, because family is so important. Yeah, everyone is busy. Yeah, because you are the one of the member of the family. You are busy for your work the whole year. So at last, you need to go back to your hometown to celebrate your success in something. Yeah.
Henry?
I think what she mentioned is very important because, like when I was in China, when we break for Spring Festival, you can't get a ticket. The train is full.
It's so hard.
I remember when I went to visit my friend, we used I think it was a train which was just put on the road to take care of the excess, passengers. So going to visit the family is very important. Being with the family, that getting together is very important. I think the other thing I wanted to mention is you find that in China, there's this thing of you have, I don't know how I would say it in Chinese, we say 做人.
做人, to be a person.
Yeah. It means you value yourself. So one of the things I notice in China is I can borrow something from you, maybe it's money. We might not have an agreement written, but I am obliged to pay that debt. Also here in Kenya, many communities, they have this kind of thing. People borrow things, you are obliged to return it. And one of the things I noted also is like, if I am unable to pay, also my children should try to pay that debt. So which I found that is something about valuing yourself, that yes, I have to fulfill my obligations. Whatever I promise, I have to fulfill. So I find some kind of similarities here between Chinese and Africans, specifically Kenyans.
So Henry and Yasin, both of you do some business here in Kenya, and you've also been doing that, or you have that experience as well in China. So I want to find out from you the differences in the business culture between China and Africa.
Yeah, I think...
Or the similarities, if there are.
Yes. Well, of course, the similarities is everybody expects some profit at the end of the day. And the only difference I notice is maybe the working habit. You find that in China, of course, time is of essence, and when we agree on a time, we have to meet on that time. But so you'll find that, and then also the other thing is the cost of living. When you are in China, the cost of doing business is slightly lower than here in Kenya. So you'll find that when you compare some of the salaries, there could be some variations between the two countries. So I remember when I came back to China, it took me some time to really adjust to buying things because I would find them very expensive. So you'll get maybe, when you're doing business, if you are coming from China, you might wonder why the salaries are a bit higher here. So you might want to give some salaries which maybe, the locals might feel like you are not paying well, but it's because of coming from the two different environments where the cost of doing business is slightly lower in China, but here it's slightly higher. So maybe the same. If I pay you 15,000 shillings in China and I pay you here, there could be some variation in terms of what you can be able to meet. But when you look at China now, the cost of living has gone up.
So, Yasin?
Business in Africa now is up than before. The Kenya is a business country. Yeah, when I come to here, I saw, the Kenya is very fast everything, and Nairobi very busy. The cars, the people, wow. Oh, this people is very hard.
Industrious.
Like Chinese.
Yeah.
The Chinese in China, they work hard. This is I found. Oh, this is same. The business in China is a little different. If you want to buy something from a factory, okay, you need to pay a lot of money. But in Kenya, okay, maybe you can. Oh, next month.
You deposit.
Poly. But I found that many things is the same because we learn each other.
Right.
Now China between Africa, between Kenya, more and more time do business. It's a good partner. It's a good friend.
Yes.
So I think it's next time we do more business together.
So Yasin and Ruth, you've been together now 6 years.
Yeah.
Where Henry and Xu Qing, you've been together over 10 years. So I want to find out from you, Ruth, how has marrying into the Chinese culture or marrying a Chinese person, how has that changed you?
I think it's made me a much clever person because marrying into to another country, to another nationality is like marrying the culture as well, because you have to understand the other person's culture and the way they were brought up, the way they have grown, the way they think and do things and why they do that. So it's made me want to tap more into the Chinese culture, immerse myself into the culture so that I can understand him a little more better to avoid conflicts between us. So I think it's made me much weighter and much clever than before. It's made me see things in another whole perspective because I can think outside the box. I can be able to think almost not the same, but almost like a Chinese person would do regarding to the relationship and what I should say and how I should say it so that he cannot feel like I'm trying to pressure him or I'm trying to make so much differences between us.
Yasin?
When I with Ruth together, I changed my life because I feeling open eyes, open my mind. Yes. Also in Beijing we together, he gave me a different life. Of course, now we stay in Kenya, life in Kenya, so it's very different in China than before. My life is international now. I have a Chinese friend like my life. Wow, you
admire.
You outside to Africa, live there. It's very good. Oh, 羡慕 huh?
They are envious of his life here now.
Yes. So I think these are right.
Shooting?
Yeah, so what I want to say, I feel I'm really lucky to marry Henry. Yeah, he brought me here, and of course we have some challenges like homesick, but that point is a small case because he really supports me. Every time I miss home, I can arrange my time, then go back to visit my family. Yeah, and I also learn a lot from him, and he's so gentle and so cool. So I'm a person who came from China, north of China, and we do things is really hurry and quick. So, but now we learn each other from I learn so many things from him, and so many things he will calm down me. He say no, Hakuna Matata, no problem, everything will be okay. Yeah, don't worry. Yeah, this is your home. So I say this is good. It's good for my health, and it's also good for my whole family. Yeah, because I'm a mom.
Henry?
Yes, I think marrying her has changed me a lot. Specifically because, for one, she mentioned about Hakuna Matata. Of course, before I was this kind of person who there's something to be done, I think I can even do it tomorrow. but for her, she wants it done now. So I've actually learned to do things instantly. And so sometimes I found I've achieved a lot of things because I don't procrastinate things. I don't say wait until tomorrow, wait later. I do it right away. And then the other thing that has really helped me is, you see, before you do anything, you have to think about the impact on the other person. So most of the things I do, I always put myself in her shoes and ask myself, what would she want me to do? So I'm sure it has changed me because now I always think about the impact on the other person. And also look at how will the community look at her. So I always put myself in her shoes before I make certain decisions.
Right.
Yeah, and then lastly, I also, I've decided to let her make most of the decisions, and I do the most important, of which I've not done since we married. Yeah.
You know, when Xu Jing talked like that, when Henry gave her the more power, I feeling it's the same. You know, in China, we worried many things, but the Ruth talk like Henry talk me. Don't worry, we together. We are two people together. No problem. Yeah, no problem. Hakuna Matata. No problem. You give me more power,
more relief and a little bit
so
of relief.
I think we're not married. We're not only married for love, because this is a natural 的吸引，相互的吸引。Natural.
It's a natural attractiveness, yes, natural attractiveness.
All right. So I know Yasin and Ruth that you're a music duo.
Yeah.
And you have a group called China Africa Flamenco
Group, yes, yes.
We want to hear you sing. What is the group about, and what are you going to sing, and what are you going to say?
Yes, we are China Africa Flamingo Group, and we have our own composition in which he wrote the song, the words of the song, and for me to sing, and his friend gave us the instrumentals, and it's called 中国我的家, China My Home. Yeah, it has both China and Africa, so you can sing a little bit.
Yes, please.
Okay, so it goes like this. 在那遥远的东方，有个美丽的地方，它的名字叫中国。非洲到中国，我有找到家的方向。站在非洲草原上，仰望天空无限遐想。用汉语就气漂亮，用话说的流畅，琴棋书画都在行。非洲到中国，千里万里的飞翔，站在中国山水上，欢乐的起舞，大声的歌唱。中国我的家，我要把你来歌唱。中国我的家，我最心爱的地方。中国我的家，给我心灵的方向。中国我的家，给我爱情的翅膀。中国我的家，成就梦中的理想。中国我的家，幸福地久和天长。Hey!
Oh, very nice. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, we have to leave it there for today, but it's been very insightful. Henry, Xu Jing, Yasin, and Ruth, thank you very much for joining us on Talk Africa today. And that's all we have time for this week on the program. Thank you very much for joining us here on Talk Africa. From me, Beatrice Marshall. Goodbye.